Let's pick up where we left off. Flip over your drawing so that the lead faces your marker paper and center it on your page. Hold it in place, or you could tape it with masking tape. Then you're going to grab a marker and you are simply going to rub the drawing so that it shows up on the marker paper. Make sure you press hard as you rub, and you just want to make sure that you rub each mark from your tracing paper, every single bit. Check just to be sure that the marks are showing up by holding your paper in place and simply lift up one edge to peek. Then continue rubbing. As you check, you just want to make sure you have the lightest bit of lead showing up on your marker paper. That's all you need, the faintest outline, so that your paper does not get smudged when you add your markers on top of the lead. If you have too much lead, then it'll get muddy. We're going to do our markers. So the first thing you'll need is your key, so that of course you can tell which color to use first, second, and third. The first color is always the lightest, the second color is the second lightest, and then the third color is the darkest. We always have a shadow side and a light side. So in today's exercise, our shadow side will be on the left, the light side will be on the right. These are the three colors I'm using for my skin tone, starting with the lightest. Using the brush tip side of our marker, from the forehead down to just above the eye, I went up and down and then left and right. So that's top to bottom and then left and right, and I'm moving slightly over towards the right. Now underneath the eyebrow, left and right motion, and now under the eye itself, just in the corners of the eye above and below it. Now I'm coming down the cheek and down the ear. All of this is with the same marker. It's the lightest color. Now a little bit of the brow on the left side, which is our shadow side, and above the eye itself. Underneath the nostril, just the tiniest bit on the left and right sides of our nostrils as well. Now underneath the eyebrow on the right side. Then we're moving above the eyebrow, top to bottom at first, and then we blend it in left and right, so that the right side of our sketch feels less colored, because that's our light source. So now we're coming down our chin, Always remembering to color in the same way that we've drawn. So notice the curved shape follows the same way that I've drawn. Now a smile above the lip and a frown below the lip. And then we're going to go down the neck. I'm moving slightly to the right, and as I get closer into the light side, the strokes are shorter. Now I'm just going to blend that in with a left-right motion. So that was top to bottom, and then I blend it in with a left-right motion. Now I'm on the light side, and you will see, again, there's less coverage on the lightest side. Now let's move on to marker number 2. We are going to be using the brush tip for this marker as well, and this is our second shade. That's the medium tone. Let's start in the forehead area, above the eyebrow, top to bottom, and I'm filling in right on top of that light shade. Here's a close-up look so that you can really see how much I have covered. Literally, I've only covered 3/4 of the way so that you can see more of shade number 2 and a little tiny bit less of shade number 1. This creates the beginning of a shadow. Now we're moving on to the eye, moving left and right, and using the tiniest point just for the inner and outer edges of our eye, and again still moving left and right. And we'll take another look at that. Left, right, the point tip of the brush for the inner eye and outer eye. Now we're going to go down the cheek, curving downward in the same way we've drawn, around the ear, and down the jawbone, a tiny bit on the bridge of the nose, under the nostril, on the outside edges of the nostril, above the lip, and below the lip. Now we're heading down the chin. Remember to color the same way we draw. Down the neck. Notice that the strokes are shorter as you get toward the center of the neck. And a tiny bit on the light side. Did you notice those tiny short strokes on the light side of the neck? Now, on the inner eye, very subtly, and the outer eye, above the eyebrow, top to bottom, notice that I am covering about halfway so that you can see shade number 2 and a sliver of shade number 1. That's important to let shade number 1 peek through. Moving a left-right motion to blend those in. Now down the cheekbone, down the jawbone, and the chin very gently. And that's it for shade number 2. Moving on to our third marker. This is our darkest one. Starting from the dark side above the eyebrow and the forehead area. Underneath the eyebrow, a little bit of that ear, down the cheek, a tiny little bit below and above the eye. Now we're going to continue down that cheek and the jawbone. A little tiny bit above the lip on the left side. A little of the bridge of the nose, inner eye, nostril. Underneath the chin and the neck area. Notice you draw in the same way as you color. Now we're going to be moving on above the eye, inner and outer edges, and above the forehead on the light side. Down the cheek, down the jawbone, underneath the chin in the neck area, but just the tiniest bit. Not a lot of coverage at all. Now let's repeat the entire process, starting all over again with marker number 1. So we move to our shadow side and we're just going right on top of where we were, up, down, left, and right. And we're just blending and moving slightly bit toward the right. Underneath the eye in a sweeping smile motion, and then blend up and down the cheek and down the chin, down the ear. So we are just adding more depth. On the inner bridge of the nose, above the eye, under the nostril, we're just adding more. Above the lip, left side of the nostril. On the right side of our eye. Head over to the right side of our forehead, blending up and down, and then a tiny bit left and right. And we're extending that color. Now we're in our cheek area, blending in a parenthesis that face left motion, down the jawbone and the chin, and across the bottom of our chin. Now down our neck, up down motion, and just slightly on the light side there in an up down motion. Left side of the face, going ahead and add a little bit more. And then on the right side, we are going to add more. Highlight that cheek on the left side so that the shadow really shows that cheekbone. Moving on to our colorless blender. Be sure that you grab some scratch paper so that you can scribble your blender right on it. There could be leftover ink from the last time you used it, and we don't want that to be on your sketch. So scribble it just to make sure it's nice and clean before you use it on your sketch. Now we're going to use our colorless blender to blend above the head, up and down, and then we're going to go left and right. And we're just picking up the color and smoothing it and moving it slightly towards the right. On the right side, up and down, and left and right, and you just drag that color slightly towards the left. So we're blending at this point, picking up the color and moving it slightly inward. Now we're going down our shadow side for the cheek and the eye area, blending in those colors and pulling them slightly towards the right. The inner eye, we're lowering those colors, so we blend and we come down a tiny bit lower. Now we're blending next above the lip and the nostril nose area, down the jawbone and the cheek area on our shadow side. And now we're lowering that colorless blender to fill in on the left side so that we have a nice smooth transition of color. Above the lip, below the lip, and now onto the light side. Blending that cheek and underneath the eye area. Moving slightly inward, above the eye, above the forehead, bring that color slightly towards the left, down the cheek and down the neck, up down motions, and then now we're adding a bridge of the nose on the right side, a little bit underneath the lip, under the left side of our chin. And that'll do it for our colorless blender. You have now completed layering in your skin tones. You can repeat this process as many times as you like until you get the smooth quality that you are looking for. But for me, right now, this is perfect. I'll see you again on our next video. Thanks so much for watching.